pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act, the South Jersey Times and the Sentinel were notified of this meeting, as well as being posted in the municipal building and on the webpage. That's where you can take roll when you have
Mr. Garfola?
Here.
Mr. Iglesias?
Here.
Mr. DeCesare?
Here.
Mr. Gaetano?
Here.
And Mr. Howell?
Here.
Chairman Grayson?
Here. And who is it? Russell isn't here. In the absence of Russell Lee, we'll seek our alternate, Andy Hamill. That's it, right? There's 6. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting, though.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Dan and second by Rich Iglesias. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? No. Mike, you have something?
Yes, 2 applications that were noticed for tonight, the Ocean Food and Fuel and the RLS on Dutch Mill Road. They will not be heard tonight. If you're here to comment on those, they will be back on January 2nd at 7 p.m. You will not get another notice, so this is your notice to come back then if you wanted to comment on that. Either of those 2 applications. Ocean Food and Fuel on Route 40 and Porchtown Road and RLS on Dutch Mill Road.
Okay. With that said, first on our agenda tonight is Michael Ramsey. Is Michael Ramsey here?
Yes.
All right, Mike, well, everything's in order, right? This is postponement from last meeting.
Continuance from last.
Yes.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
You need my name?
Decision what you're gonna do, Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah, I would really like to subdivide it and move the mobile home over.
You can't move the mobile home.
I'd like to just plead my case again.
That's not an option for us, though.
I believe you guys could do this if you wanted to.
Mike?
No, I think we pretty much hashed out last time that, had to make a decision as whether you're keeping things the way they are or whether you're going to, because you're going to have a new lot. The township doesn't allow mobile homes. So this board can't give you permission to put a mobile home.
The lot already has a mobile home on it.
Not the lot you're going to create. It's a brand new lot.
But
create it. Correct, yeah.
But the mobile home is there.
Right.
There's a house on this lot.
Right.
There's 2 dwellings. Last time I was here, we spoke about, or you guys spoke about so many different, like 5 or 6 times about lot density. And you kept mentioning lot density. And I was like wondering, what is lot density? And lot density, I looked it up, and it's how many dwellings are on this area. Well, let me show you something. Let's just look at this here. This is how big the lot is, right here. There's 2 dwellings on this lot. Already there's 2 dwellings on this lot. What I want to do is cut it in half and have 1 here and 1 here. I'm not changing the lot density because it's still going to be this size and there's still going to be 2 dwellings on it. Nothing's changing with the lot density. And the other thing is that whole area, every house on all 3 of them streets, they're all on undersized lots.
Nobody is arguing that, Mr. Ramsey. You cannot have a mobile home. It's not permitted anywhere in Franklin Township.
It's existing. It's existing.
You can.
If this is existing,
House.
this is existing.
You can keep it where it is. That's fine to do so. You can't move the mobile home.
So you're telling me, I heard last time I was here, you said I could replace the mobile home with another mobile home.
On the same property.
On the same property.
So when I bring a new mobile home in, do I have to set it right up on the property line?
You have to set it where the old mobile,
Even though it's not conforming to the setbacks?
where the old mobile home was. I can keep repeating this.
Do you hear? But what I want to do is make it more conforming to the setbacks. You know, it just doesn't make sense, guys.
We don't write the law. You just have to go by it.
So you're telling me I can move that mobile home and put another mobile home right on the property line, right where it's at?
Same footprint.
Same footprint, right on the property line. I can't move it to the center of the property? It's got to be right on there. Now, it's non-conforming where it sits. It's non-conforming with the setbacks. It's non-conforming because there's two dwellings on the same property. You guys have a chance to separate this and make it conforming with setbacks. You guys have a chance to make it conforming with there's not two dwellings on the same property. Am I mistaken here, or am I? It's non-conforming because there's two dwellings on the same property. It's non-conforming because it's sitting right on the property line. I want to make it conforming to where it's.
If there were two single-family dwellings as opposed to a mobile home, you could probably do what you want. But this is a mobile home, and you cannot do that. Mike, you want to get further into this? I don't know what else to say.
It's sort of a clean slate. If you do the subdivision, we're starting all from new. It's a clean slate. You have two lots. And you have to abide. It's going to be two lots, both of which are undersized and need several variances. But you're going to have two lots. It's a clean slate. So what you can do on those lots is brand new. You can't go back and say you're going to move things around, and you can build a house on that new lot and keep the house on the.
You guys can say I can separate these things. You guys can do that tonight. Don't tell me you can't.
We just told you that we can't.
Are you telling me they can't do that?
I know one thing, they're telling you what they were willing to do based upon everything that was applied for. They had told you what your two options were. Because you have a lot of variances on here as well, and the engineer's letter is pretty detailed regarding what you need. You're going to have two undersized lots.
Well, when you say two undersized lots, every lot in that neighborhood is going to be that size. It isn't like they're going to be extra small than any other neighbor in that.
We're talking about the zone only. So when you say it's conforming, they're not conforming. They're similar to neighboring lots, which are all undersized.
But it's going to be more conforming than what it is now. Now it's so non-conforming. Two dwellings on the same property. One's right up on the property line. There's a cesspool. You know, there's so many different ways. It's better if it's subdivided, one dwelling on one and one dwelling on the other, and it's still the same amount of dwellings on the same amount of property.
Correct. And that's your argument for the board to allow the subdivision to take effect. That's your argument for an undersized lot and to increase density. Agreed. That's your argument. But when you take that argument to the second step and say, hey, I got this old trailer that I want to move onto the new lot, I think you're hearing clearly from the board that they're not going to go for that.
Well, I see just like one or two saying, can they all vote no, we don't want this to happen? Or how's that work?
What?
Do they vote on it, or?
Yeah, sure.
You were going to come back with a decision whether you wanted to subdivide or not.
I got a decision. That's what I said. I'm here. I said, I want to subdivide it. I want to move the mobile home over. I want to take the two dwellings, make it on the same property, but separate it. It'll be more conforming in so many different ways than what it is.
Well, I think we can approve to subdivide it, but we can't approve to move that trailer.
You could.
Is that
but
right, Mike?
Yeah, well, I mean,
No, you could.
Well, they're not willing to do that anyway.
So say you don't want to, or you're not willing to do that, but you could do that. And again, there's these things are there now.
But it's existing and it's grandfathered
right now.
And they're non-conforming. It's non-conforming.
Supposed to be there. Last meeting, you didn't even know if the mobile home had a septic system, you said.
I still don't know, but it's got some kind of I think it's got a cesspool. That's what I'm saying. I want to know what it's got. I'm going to put in two new septic systems. I want to get rid of the hole in the ground, which is a cesspool, which is so non-going this. You know what I mean? It's like so many different ways this is better if we do this than not. I can't believe, I'm a little dense. I understand that, but I can't believe that you guys can't see it that way. We have two dwellings on one property with one cesspool. I want to separate it. And these properties are going to be on no less smaller of a lot than the whole area in that area.
But then you're going to have a buildable lot, so you're going to have a third residents on,
No way a third. No way. Don't even get involve a third. How would you say a third?
well, then there's no need for the subdivision.
Why are you subdividing that?
Because it's non-conforming to have two dwellings on one. So if we move the mobile home over, we cut it in half, now it's more conforming.
Want to make it more conforming just for the benefit of the entire township, like an altruistic kind of I'm going to do good for everyone by subdividing this and moving this mobile home.
I want to definitely have better septic systems. I want to get the mobile home off of it's right on the borderline. You know what I mean? It's right there. It's like, it's non-conforming in so many different ways, and it's just like, it's a no-brainer. And yes, I do think it would be more valuable if it was separated. I'm not even sure if it would be. You know what I mean? I like the idea that there was two on one, but
So is that your position, that in order, you want to move the mobile home to the other lot if the subdivision is granted?
yes.
Any more questions?
Nah, I have no more questions.
Is there anyone from the public like to be, let's open up.
I make a motion, we open the public.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is there anyone from the public like to be heard regarding this application?
My wife has a lot to say at home, but she ain't going to say nothing now.
We didn't have to open up to the public for her to speak. She could have spoke with you.
She ain't saying nothing.
If not, we'll entertain a motion to close the public.
I make a motion.
Motion by Dana, second by Richard Glacius. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Any other questions, gentlemen? You heard what Mr. Ramsey wants to do?
Well, I know one
I think
thing, I wouldn't vote to subdivide if he's gonna move the trailer. So that would be the way I would go. He's gonna make a motion. I make a motion and approving the subdivision without the trailer being moved over. That would create extra problem for everybody concerned except for this whole.
What would be the problem if we did that?
Because it's not supposed to be done like that.
I think he wants
Why
to
don't you
vote.
just leave it the way it is? Leave it the way it is.
With the cesspool, with the mobile home right on the property
Leave
line?
it the way it is.
With the,
You still can take care of all that other stuff if that's your concern.
That's what I'm going to do if I have to, but it seems like it's a no-brainer for me to do this. This would be more right. This would be more conforming.
I think he wants to vote yes or no on a subdivision and moving the trailer. I think that's what he wants. Because he's saying doesn't want to subdivide and.
Well, then I'm not going to divide my motion to deny it.
He's gonna need to go get a construction permit. Construction official's gonna say, no, you can't move the trailer, period. So he's not gonna get any further leaving here other than subdivision. True or false?
If he wants one, but doesn't sound he wants it.
He's gotta go to the town.
There's a motion on the floor to deny this.
Is that your motion?
Well, my motion right now, if he's gonna be hard about the trailer, I'm gonna deny the subdivision.
Okay,
Let me understand something. If we approved the subdivision, and he wanted to get a permit to move that trailer, he wouldn't get the permit.
I mean, we're not the construction office, but I think you're making it clear that you don't want this. You're granting it with the understanding that will not happen, is what I understand the board saying, which, that's your motion.
Well, my motion is to deny the whole
I
thing
mean,
right now.
okay.
But
Subdivision's nice, it's just, you can't move the trailer in that area.
I mean, I would
It's not
vote,
allowed.
I would vote to make it do the subdivision, but I'm not having anything about the trailer in the subdivision. So you're gonna get a subdivision, but you're not gonna get our approval to do the trailer.
Let's subdivide it. We'll leave the mobile home right where it's at. That sounds good.
Okay, then
No.
if you want, and then I will,
No, that won't work out.
That ain't going to fly.
Go ahead.
No, the way your application is to subdivide this lot and together with that, not separate from it, and together with that move the trailer onto the new lot. That's your application, and that's what you're asking the board to act on tonight. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you need to act on.
and I go
not to
by the
approve.
way I said, I'm not gonna approve the subdivision. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
motion by Mr. Iglesias to deny it without not moving the trailer, and seconded by, who was that?
Me.
And Tom. Roll call.
Mr. Garfola,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. DeCesare.
Yes.
Mr. Gattano,
Yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Just to be clear, this is yes to deny.
Correct.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman Grady.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for your time, guys. Right, that's it, or?
That's it.
Okay, next on the agenda is JWJ Investors. Mike, everything in order with JWJ?
Notice, yes.
I'll get started if you're ready while he's setting up his papers.
Is anyone going to be,
Yeah, we have some people testifying. Three.
how about we swear them in?
Sure.
Everybody that's going to be testifying, swear in.
Okay.
Come up front here. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth about the testimony you're going to give this evening.
I do.
Name,
Jason.
address,
Jason Jones, 3086 Delsea Drive.
and you're the applicant,
The owner, yeah.
the owner?
Brian Seidel, Seidel Planning, professional planner. Address at 2103 East High Street, Pottstown.
William Gilmore, professional engineer, 2205 Delsea Drive, Franklinville, New Jersey.
Thank you. This application is for the construction of a 124-foot long by 36-foot wide pole barn on a 3.5 acre property known as 3102 Delsea Drive in Franklin Township, block 2102, lot 22. The pole barn is going to be sited roughly where there is an existing concrete pad on the property, which needs to be expanded to accommodate the pole barn dimensions. The application falls under the jurisdiction of the zoning board because there are several pre-existing uses on the property which are non-conforming, and under the zoning regulations in existence today will technically require a use variance. These existing usage nonconformities are, number one, the fact that there are more than one primary use on the property, including 2 residential uses, commercial use, and retail use. The current ordinance limits property owners to 1 primary use per lot. The second is the fact that there are residential uses on the commercial portion of the property, and although the portions of the property are zoned residential, the residential uses are actually located on the highway commercially zoned part. The application introduces a use which arguably requires a use variance, which is that the proposed use of the pole barn can be viewed as warehousing of materials used by the business other than for retail sale. The current ordinance only permits warehousing of materials which will be sold on the property as retail stock, and the owner will give testimony as to what type of uses he will put this pole barn to, what will be stored in that pole barn and used by the business. In conjunction with the landscaping business's equipment maintenance functions, an outdoor holding area is present on the property which may need a variance for use as a fenced outdoor storage area. You were supplied with photos with the application materials which show the multiple uses and their respective locations on the property. Do you have that? The photos? Yeah. Okay. A site plan was also submitted for this property at the recommendation of the zoning board engineer. In broad terms, the site plan shows how all of the current uses on the property are spatially related to each other, and it also demonstrates that there are additional pre-existing nonconformities on the property as relates to the bulk requirements. These pre-existing nonconformities relate mostly to the existing signs on the property, which are more in number than currently allowed by ordinance, higher than currently allowed, larger than currently allowed, and closer to the property lines than currently allowed. Again, these are pre-existing conditions which the applicant desires to maintain and therefore needs variances to continue. The next group of variances or waivers requested relate to the design of the proposed pole barn itself. The ordinance prohibits prefabricated metal panes and/or metal vinyl siding as the dominant exterior. It prohibits uninterrupted facade length of greater than 100 feet, and the applicant is proposing 124 feet. It prohibits a continuous roof plane without parapets, which the applicant is proposing, and buffering from a residential zone of 0 feet where a minimum of 50 square feet is required. I believe this is related to the fact that the proposed pole barn, although it's roughly in the center of the property, is less than 60 feet from the zone, the highway commercial RA zone division line, which runs through the property. So thank you for your patience as I placed all of these known variances and waivers on the record. But as you listen to the application, may I please ask you to remember that this application can simply be stated as an application to construct a pole barn on the property for use in the business. Most of the relief requested is not created, nor is it exacerbated by the planned activity. They just happen to be characteristics of the present, that are present on the property, in most cases for decades. And many of you may be familiar with the property if I tell you that this is formerly the Doherty Gardens property. And so the team with me today consists of the applicant, Jason Jones, his engineer, Bill Gilmore of Site Civil Engineering in Franklinville, and his planner, Brian Seidel of Seidel Planning and Design. So I think maybe the way to proceed here is to have the engineer come up and present, technical aspects, and then we can have either the planner or the applicant come next and continue from there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill Gilmore.
Good evening. Should be qualified or as a witness or?
We'll be both of you, the planner and the engineer, as professionals in your field.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So tonight this is a color rendering, a site plan that was included in the package. To orient you to the plan, north is straight up here. Grant Avenue is running horizontal across the page, and Delsea Drive is vertical on the left side of the page. The color area is the tract itself, which is about 3.3 acres. It's split zone. Ms. Fargo was talking about there's a zoning line right here. The eastern side is the RA, and the western side is the highway commercial. The brown, darker brown color, that's the proposed pole barn. That's part of the application tonight. So it has multiple access points from Delsea Drive and also from Grant Avenue. You can see this light gray color. This is the existing stone that is around the site. The site was kind of in a disrepair condition before Mr. Jones took it over. I don't know if you've come by, he's cleaned up a lot of stuff. There's a lot of old greenhouse stuff. He's really cleaned it up and greened it up a lot. So as part of his development of his businesses, what he'd like to do is clean up and make the parking more orderly. Right now there's more gravel here, so we're going to green that up. We're going to add some additional gravel in place to that to make the movements more efficient on the site for the vehicles that he uses and for customers to come in. So 3 access, one on the southern side. This is used for one of the businesses for the landscape station, which is a retail and they'll repair retail customers' lawn equipment. So the customer comes in through this side. They have a fenced-in area here where they're going to overnight or unload for the day, and they can stock the lawnmowers or equipment to be serviced. The repair area and storage and mechanic shop is within these 2 areas right here. These 2, they're greenhouses right now, just covered with like a hoop house. So the customers would leave that there, and they would just traverse around the site and leave either through one of these other exits on Grant Avenue or onto Delsea Drive, kind of make a loop throughout the property. The New Life Landscaping Station and Retail Store is adjacent and fronts on Delsea Drive. There's parking along the side north of that access point for the customers. So that's kind of like the main customer drive in the center of the site. To the north of the 2 buildings, or the one building, the northern side of the building is a Fairborn office. Is kind of a satellite office for a garage installer or Salesforce. So you have a physical address in this area for customers. So not too many customer trips there. We have 2 existing residential dwellings behind the greenhouse area and also fronting on Delsea Drive. We worked out the parking for the demand. I think we needed 20 spaces. We're proposing 42. Have ample storage for his work vehicles, his crews, place to park while you're getting the trucks to leave the site. The proposed use here is the pole barn, which will be used for warehouse purposes for the contracting service. There's 2 signs on the site right now, all non-conforming, I believe. One is located here on the southern portion of the property on Delsea Drive, and the other one is on Grand Avenue, and that is in this area right over here. There we go, kind of in the center on Grand Avenue. It's actually out in the right of way a little bit, so it's a 0 lot line. There's some recommendations to relocate that. So that's pretty much how the site flows. Traffic or visitor-wise, met with Mr. Jones and New Life's Landscaping. We have 4 employees, about 15 visitors maybe a day would show up, utilize their services, drop off, stuff like that. The contracting, we'll have 23 employees with no visitors. They go to the property and service your property as a contractor. No one comes there. The garage door company, there's 2 employees. They're not there all day. They don't get any visitors or traffic at this point. And then to have 2 occupants in the 2-bedroom rental, I guess a rental units, the 2 dwellings right now, unknown how many visitors they get. So approximately 33 people would be on the site at one time with maybe 15 visitors throughout the day. So just give you a picture of kind of the traffic that moves around on the site. So that's pretty much very basic. Again, coming in was complicating factor for the pole barn is all these other things that happened in the past that were not codified, and I think that's why we're here tonight, to codify everything and then to seek approval for the pole barn.
Where are all the septics for all these residents and businesses?
I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Jones on that. I'm not sure exactly where they are. Maybe he can just shine some light on that.
And what is Fairborn? Is that?
Fairborn is a garage door company installer, and I believe it's kind of like a sales office for them in this area. There's no sewer or water anticipated in the new pole barn. That's strictly for storage. So there'll be no change to any water, sewer, septic, or anything on the site. It'll function as it does today with just a pole barn for extra storage. So right now they're storing stuff in containers, like sea boxes or dry freight containers. So they're storing equipment and customer stuff in there. They don't have enough room. So that's the purpose where the pole barn is, to construct the pole barn and get rid of the sea boxes.
How about trash? The dumpster?
Trash and dumpsters, I'm going to have to refer to Jason.
Yeah, there's a dumpster there right now just because we were in the process over the last 2 years cleaning everything up. I mean, there was, as you guys know, it was quite the mess. It took me 2.5 years and approximately $150,000 in just trash removal and getting rid of all the old greenhouses and everything that they collected over the years. So there is still one dumpster there, but it's not typically there. So it's there just to collect the remaining trash that's left over, and that'll be out of the way.
So trash-wise, you trash generating. You have the office and the repair facility. So there's one dumpster services that use.
Yeah, we have a regular dumpster that any trash goes into, and it's collected once a week.
Once a week on a regular.
Where is that located?
That's actually it's inside this fenced-in area, and it's right up against this building right here. It might actually be over here at this point now, but at one point it was a container right there.
See, something says container.
That container is the sea box that he was speaking about, where I don't have enough storage, so in order to keep customers' equipment safe, I need to be able to lock it up just to make sure that nothing gets stolen.
The 2 trailer bodies can stay on?
The 2 trailer bodies?
Sea boxes?
There's trailer bodies as well, right? Over this area here?
They're gone at this point.
So you've already removed
That's actually what this container is. It's one of those old ones. I took the good one and moved it here, and I trashed the other one. So they're gone. It's all cleaned up.
So when you build the building, you're going to get rid of the other container?
I can, if that's an issue. I mean, I don't really need it. I just had it. I didn't bring it in. It was already on the property. I cut the wheels off because it was a tractor trailer. and it was an eyesore. So I moved it inside the fenced-in area and dropped it down to the ground.
So just a question for the engineer. I see proposed blue traffic painted handicap symbol and island on stone.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna work out. So we're gonna end up having to pave that to make it applicable.
Both
And all
handicap
these arrows.
Yeah. Well,
All
say,
the directional arrows.
yeah, they're not gonna, all right, it's gravel, it's crushed stone, we're not gonna paint that, correct. There's more for a plan so you can see what's going on. And the parking line's the same way. We have they're just to delineate, people will pull up and park. We will take care of both handicap areas, and Mr. Scheide recommended in his letter that we'll put some bituminous or concrete, most likely concrete, it's easier to control for slopes, and paint that and sign it appropriately.
And the entrance, you have two entrances on Delsea Drive.
Correct.
The one that is, I guess that would be what, south, right?
Yeah, towards the bottom
The
south.
smaller one. Do you have DOT approval for that entrance there? Because that seems highly unusual to be able to have two of those.
It's existing now. I don't have any knowledge of any.
There was an apron that was existing when I purchased the property, so.
I thought that was our apron.
That's my apron.
Well, according, so we pulled out the survey and I measured off the property line, and there was an apron that was there. I don't know much about it other as far as DOT goes, so.
We're gonna, you want to give the planner first, then we'll go to Dave's report? Sure. Yeah, let's hear the planner.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Gilmore provided a good summary and overview of the property. I won't bore you with going through any of those details, but a couple of high points that I would like to point out is a 3.3 acre parcel located on Route 47. About 2/3 of the property is zoned highway commercial, while the remaining third of the property at the back of the property is zoned the RA Residential Agricultural District. This was historically the Doherty Nursery, as everybody talked about, and in my opinion, the existing conditions that are there today are kind of a result of the historic aspects that you get from those kind of agricultural businesses that have agricultural businesses that evolve into other types of businesses, farm stands, retail sales associated with that. The corridor along the highway is generally a mix of residential uses and highway commercial uses. The proposal that you heard is generally asking for a continuation of the existing conditions of the property, use of the property, with the addition of the pole barn. And may have been mentioned, and maybe I missed it, but essentially the pole barn is located in, or being proposed in a location where there was an existing concrete pad where the existing greenhouse or a previous greenhouse had been. So this is a previously disturbed area, and it's also important to note that this is in the commercial, highway commercial portion of the site. There were a number of variances that are requested here for those existing non-conforming conditions that are associated with buffering, building design, multiple uses on the property, signage, and the designation of warehousing that may not be associated with a retail use on the site. The RA zoning district does permit residential uses as well as other agricultural uses, including wholesale nurseries. Highway commercial district permits a variety of those commercial uses, including sale of building materials, hardware, garden centers, professional services, personal services, restaurants, daycare centers, indoor storage of goods sold on site, limited manufacturing and assembly, incidental to retail businesses, auto sales, and auto services. So it's a broad spectrum of commercial uses that are permitted in the underlying zoning district. Also point out that the, identified in the review letters and also identified in the zoning ordinance, a section that discusses split zone properties between the RA and the highway commercial district. As I started looking at the proofs that are required for the variance and reviewing that criteria, the site is particularly suited for the use. This is located on a major commercial roadway. It already has the residential uses that are in the area, that are in the highway commercial area, that have been there for some time, generally compatible with the uses that are permitted in the underlying zoning district. And the pole barn will be provided on the property to provide storage of some of that equipment that we just heard about within the pole barn itself. The variance, granting the variance will allow the continuation of the property conditions the way they are, building locations, setbacks that have occurred on the property for years. As we reviewed the file, we did identify that we're here for the variance tonight, but there were several permits and approvals that were granted by the township for the use of the property recently. So the conditions and uses that have gone on the property have been known for some time. Variance will advance the purpose of zoning, particularly purposes A, to guide the appropriate use of land, G, to provide space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses, and provide desirable visual environment, quality design, the pole barn, and providing storage of equipment. Regarding the negative criteria, there's no detriment to the public good. Highway commercial use is consistent with the adjacent commercial corridor. No impact to residential uses. As I indicated, the pole barn is located in an area where the greenhouse was previously. Generally no significant change to the rural agricultural portion of the property. Would point out that there is no detriment to the zoning plan or the zoning ordinance. Again, majority of the site is within the HC district. Reviewing the documents here, did identify in 2004 master plan, identified the property use as being retail, and revisions that were identified in the 2004 master plan included implementing the highway commercial district and providing standards which changed the zoning of this property. I did think it was important to note that within that provision of the master plan, they had included a very specific note to address non-conforming conditions, which says specifically, it is not the intent of this master plan to impose undue burdens on the owners of lots that were legally non-conforming prior to the adoption of this plan, but which will become non-conforming as a result of the adoption of this plan and its implementing ordinances. The existing grandfather, in quote, provisions of the zoning ordinance shall remain in effect. And then there's also the non-conforming provisions of the zoning ordinance that do allow continuation and expansion of those non-conforming uses. The proposal also supports goal number 5 in the master plan by diversifying and expanding the economy. In general, the uses that are being proposed are not inconsistent with the zoning district and with uses that are contemplated in the zoning district. There are a number of uses on the property, which is one of the variances. However, they're not, again, inconsistent with the area. So I believe the application does address the zoning criteria. I believe it satisfies the criteria for the approval of the variances, and the variances should be approved.
So I'd like to have the applicant come up also and provide some testimony about the uses. So Jason, if you would come up here. Jason, can you tell the board what you plan to do with regard to the outside storage? It was noted in the engineer's report that you have a fenced area, which I guess is outside of this building. It's in here right now, and Yeah, and is that proposed to remain?
It is proposed to remain. Obviously, being a mechanic shop and running businesses, there's a lot of tools and equipment that's being stored out there. I primarily did it to, number one, protect customers' equipment, and number two, to make sure that it didn't look like a mess to all the neighbors and for the township. It kind of keeps everything tight and makes it look more presentable.
And can you also discuss, you had mentioned to me early on when we first met about the use of that building, your mechanics don't like working in a hoop house, especially in the winter. Can you talk about, and the extra heat in the summer. So can you talk about, you propose to move that operation over to this pole barn?
So being a small engine repair shop, we have 3 mechanics on staff that repair customers' equipment, and obviously being in a greenhouse, it's not ideal situation. Sometimes it gets up to 100 plus degrees, and it's cold in the wintertime. So it would be nice to be able to use at least one of those bays, maybe 2, for just the mechanics to be able to have a more suitable environment to
So what are you going to do with the greenhouses then?
It's going to be for the landscaping and the contracting side of things, because there's nobody that's in there currently. We're basically, it's a big mess. It's a big mishmash right now of multiple businesses, and well, not multiple, but the 2 businesses in there. So the New Life Landscaping and Contracting, the guys that Bill was saying, they come in, they pick up their equipment, and they're off on the road. The storage of that equipment will be in there because they don't have to be in there for a long period of time.
So 23 employees for the contracting division, do they park their vehicles on site, or do they bring like a company truck and pick up work orders?
Some have company trucks, and then others carpool. So it's not 23 cars. There's typically only like 12 maybe, if I had to guess off the top of my head.
So the greenhouses are going to be storage areas? And the pole barn is going to be a functioning, working area?
It's going to be that and for storage.
The pole barn?
Mm-hmm. The pole barn.
Greenhouses are going to strictly be for storage?
For storage of equipment that's used for the landscaping business. And we also obviously carry plants, and we also carry stock like grass seed and things of that nature. So that's where those things that aren't going to get stolen are going to be.
So there was a question about the pole barn being used for a warehousing operation. Can you discuss what it is that you plan to keep in there that might be considered warehousing?
Nothing's going to be stored in there for long periods of time. It's going to be more or less customers that have their equipment that bring it in. I mean, we have a yard in prime time. We might have a yard full of customers' mowers and tractors and things of that nature. So it would be nice to be able to store it in there out of the elements so that customers know that their equipment's safe. That along with some landscape materials.
I see a lot of blocks.
That will be all inside the fenced-in area because the pole.
Inside that building or just inside?
No, inside the fenced-in area. Right now, the reason it's there is just because of ease of access for the forklift to be able to scoop it up. But that's where the pole barn's going, is on that concrete. So that's all those blocks are on the concrete. I want to move all that inside the fenced-in area and construct the pole barn at that location.
And Jason, do you know where your septic system 1 or 2 plural are located?
Behind this parking space, about 10 feet is where the entire field. It's a brand new septic system that was put in by Pat Doherty prior to purchase of the property because the previous one was outdated and wasn't large enough to store what it was needed. So in order for him to sell the property, he was required to upgrade. So it's a brand new septic system.
So that septic system serves all of the uses on the property?
Correct.
How many bathrooms?
How many bathrooms are on site, including the houses? 1, 2, 3.
That can't be accurate because I don't think the county would approve the septic for 2 residents and your retail business with 1 septic system.
Actually, I know personally that is the case. When he bought it, because I represented the Dohertys and they had Chuck Starr's company, they got a permit and they got a new septic system installed, and we couldn't close on the property until it was approved. So I know factually that it was done.
No, I'm sure it was done, but that septic is servicing all those other places?
It's one, rather than
Yeah.
having two, they proposed to have one large one, and that was, trust me, before I purchased the property, I wanted to make sure that it was done properly. So I followed up with it and did my own research myself, so yeah.
Gloucester County is very strict with septic installations, so even anything with a permit inspection,
100%, yeah, it was done 100% correct.
they're very thorough.
Well,
Dave, any comments on that septic situation?
It was probably a pre-existing septic system from back in the day, just like all this was. And then they were probably by right allowed to upgrade that to meet current standards.
and I know a much larger system was required to be installed.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the board? Or we can wait until they ask you questions. Okay.
Just have one question. Sorry. Question about the residences. There's two,
There's two.
and are they rent?
They are rentals, yes.
So they're not associated with, somebody watching over the business or an on-site person, they're separate,
Not really.
not like employees, housing or?
They are employees, but that's just by coincidence. So the one person that lived in the house, still, when I bought the property, still lives in the house. He was a small engine mechanic. That was his trade. So I hired him.
So they're registered as rental units in the township?
Correct.
How many families do you got? Two rentals?
One is a single man, lives in the front house, and then the other is a single mother with two children.
I remember that first one. Thank you.
Yep, no problems.
I have a question. Could you clarify? So I thought I heard something that I didn't know about. So do you do retail sales of landscaping type stuff? Did you say plants and grass seed and stuff like that?
We store that for the landscaping and contracting side
So
of it.
that's not retail sales?
No,
That's just your stock?
Stock,
what you do
yeah.
for the landscaping?
correct.
Okay, thanks for clarifying
No
that.
problem.
But there are retail sales occurring
Right.
on the property.
Retail sales of garage doors?
No.
And retail sales of mowers?
Correct.
Mowers.
So we repair customers' equipment, but we also are a dealership for Bobcat and Red Max landscaping equipment. So in this store in the front, that's where the retail store customers come in, they can buy equipment,
Right.
new equipment.
Okay, so there's two different retail sales there. Garage doors and landscaping equipment.
Actually, the garage door was changed to an office space through the township, and that is just a hub for them, for two sales guys to be present, and they come in the morning and they sit in the office and they do transactional stuff for their business. Their main hub is, I think, in Pennsylvania. They're a very large company. They do a lot of work in the Swedesboro area with all the Amazon buildings going in and all that. So they, rather than traveling so far, it just made more sense for them to have a South Jersey location.
Understood. So they drop ship that stuff at their locations. You're not storing garage doors here or anything like that?
There is no equipment he doesn't have anything that's there other than a scissor lift. And that's just so he doesn't have to truck it back and forth from Pennsylvania.
I want to make sure I'm clear on the businesses. I'm not sure I'm clear on them now. So I know you got the garage door people, that makes sense. Then you have your landscaping business where you go out and do landscaping on site.
Correct.
So what's the third one that you're calling contractor?
So
Or is there more than
I'll
that?
use this, it's easier to explain. So in the front, so there's the garage door company here. This is New Life Landscape Station, which is the second business of mine. It is a retail store where we sell new equipment, and then we also repair customers' equipment that come in and they have broken equipment. And that's where the mechanic shop is currently back here, where we do the repairs.
Okay, so contractor, you're not, the one we're calling a contractor, I think is really,
So that's one. The second business of mine is this company. and that we store all of our equipment currently right here in the middle. And that's where we have our own mowing equipment, and we have our own landscaping equipment to go out and do customer channels.
That's landscaping number one business.
Landscaping and contracting, yes.
It's sort of together, is that?
It's one, New Life Landscaping and Contracting. Yep. So we do, I have a construction crew, we install pools, we do high-end backyard renovations and landscape design stuff.
So it's still landscape stuff, you're not building additions and...
We don't build additions, it's landscape design. So I went to school for landscape design, and we go in people's backyard, design their backyard, draw it up, 3D designs, and then install the project.
You guys are doing
Hardscaping, pavers. Correct. Yeah. So we'll build like a pavilion or a gazebo in the back around a pool and things of that nature. And in order to pull a permit, you have to be a contractor, a licensed contractor. So we are.
You're not building septic or anything like that?
No.
Are you installing pools, you said?
We install pools, correct?
You install pools?
Yes.
Will there be pool shells here on site?
No.
So get clear the room.
Swimming pool, yes.
But
Don't tell me we're in trouble with pools again.
no, we're not storing anything, or we just install them. That's what we do for one of our services. So.
Just wanted to be clear.
No, yeah, what we are proposing is what it's going to be used for.
Why don't we go through the engineer's report?
Certainly, thank you. Chairman, board members, our latest report was November 16th, 2023, in which we reviewed, it was a continual review because additional information was submitted. Application's complete. Page 6, my technical comments is where I was trying to figure out what was going on here. Not having firsthand knowledge of how it existed beforehand, I wanted to be clear on what was our proposal today so that the applicant ultimately can be legalized for what's going on, I guess, and for the board to grant approval if they see fit for the additional pole barn that's on site. So, like Mrs. Vargo had said, there's several variances associated with this. Use variances, we went through each one of those. I think we have a clear idea, at least I have a clear idea of the landscaping business, the contracting business, the retail sales, and the 2 residential dwellings that exist on site. Now, there was some talk about a fenced storage area, and I think I understand what you were saying. Between the hoop house and the proposed pole barn, there's a fenced storage area for vehicles, your employees' vehicles.
Correct.
And sometimes there is customers' lawn equipment stored in there.
Currently, yes, because we don't have a pole barn.
Correct. And so then that will be stored in the proposed pole barn.
That's correct.
So that fenced-in area will only be a secure parking area.
It's a secure parking area, and it's an area where we can put a dumpster without it blowing trash around and all that. So I know that the wind blows through there quite often, and when we were in the cleanup process, we had some trash that was blowing around, and I know that the neighbors were unhappy about that. So we were trying to contain the construction site as much as possible.
Correct. So now that you're on your way to getting the site cleaned up, typically when we have a commercial development of this sort, there is a central location for a dumpster with an enclosure around it so that, everybody knows where the trash goes, everybody knows where it's picked up at, it stays there, and it limits that trash flowing. So as a condition of any approval, we'd like to see that on the plans, where that dumpster is going to be located, whatever the enclosure is around it, so that we know where that is.
That's no problem.
Just to clarify, you also said something about the blocks being moved into that area. The blocks that are currently on the concrete pad that the pole barn will be sited on, they are potentially going to be moved and stored in that fenced area between the pole barn and the hoop house.
So that's not just a secure area for vehicles, you're going to use that as a contractor's yard? Is that what you're saying?
Or we can put the things in the greenhouse area now, because we're going to be relieving some space there. We can actually put them in the greenhouse.
That would make better sense.
That's,
If you could store that in the greenhouse area.
Right, and that's pretty primary. We're basically trying to use what the greenhouse area is meant to be used for. We're supposed to use it for those type of things. That's what we want it to be used for, and then we want the pole barn to be used for the other more practical things.
okay. So the bottom portion of my paragraph 3, I wanted some testimony about the fenced storage area in the RA zone. So behind the pole barn, you've got another parking area surrounded by, well, at least on a couple sides, you have 6-foot-high chain link fences proposed. What's to be used in that area? If you could point it out on the plan. Yes.
That's your view. Yeah, this would be parking for. So there's an existing greenhouse. Out of all the greenhouses that we tore down, this was covered in greenhouses, this was covered in greenhouses, all broken down. There was 1 or maybe 2 that were actually still worth keeping, and we kept this. We will store, we will put plants and things of that nature in there, and also in this other greenhouse. But yeah, this is for parking.
That says greenhouse foundation only. So since this survey was done, you're saying that greenhouse was rebuilt? That's actually
No, that's been
structure?
existing since I purchased the property. This greenhouse right here, that's been there since I purchased it.
I was just going by the survey that was submitted for the application, said it was a foundation only.
I think this one, where the pole barn.
This is right here. It's because it's a group house.
Yeah.
It's just a foundation.
Yeah.
It's just hoops.
Yeah.
It's just hoops right now.
It's just hoops, it's not.
There's no concrete.
There's no concrete there.
No.
Greenhouse foundation only. Okay.
So we're eliminating that then?
I think it means there's
No, I think what he's saying is.
It's there. I was going to use it just because it's there.
like some greenhouses don't have hardscape bottoms, they have gravel. So it's, the foundation is referring to blocks, there are block walls that encompass it.
It's concrete.
What? I mean,
The long one on the back where you're parking your truck behind, it's got a concrete floor.
there's a walkway that goes right down the middle that is concrete. It's about 2.5 feet wide, and then the other sides are extended.
So that fenced in, that area up to that hoop house we're talking about, the greenhouse, that is for parking for your employees? Is that what that's for?
Yeah, this is for his trucks that don't leave in the evening, he's gonna park them there. That was my understanding, that's fenced in, secure.
It's not employee parking, it's for your trucks to park.
So when they come when they come in,
That's
so we're talking about the employee parking, right? This is
Yeah, this is the employee and the trucks don't leave, park here.
right. So they can come in here and they're park their own personal cars in here during the daytime, and then we would park the trucks there at nighttime.
So that's where you're gonna store your contracting equipment there in the evening?
Correct.
And that's the purpose for the 6-foot-high fence and the 12-foot gate?
Correct. I mean, I think we had to put it in there.
Yeah, no, I think so.
I just want to be clear on how it's going to operate.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
All right, so we heard testimony by paragraph 5. We heard testimony about this pole barn. It sounds like it's changed a little bit. It was only supposed to be for indoor storage of the commercial landscaping business equipment or things along those lines. We hear now by testimony that is also going to be in, a portion of it's going to be an active shop for small engine repair. Just so it's clear, that's your testimony, is that correct?
Sure, yeah, that's what, I mean, it just makes more sense to be able to move what's already there into the greenhouse area and then move the things that are in the greenhouse into the new structure.
This pole barn, just to be clear again, that's not fit out at all? I mean, the side that faces Grant Avenue looks very nice. I mean, you have a covered porch, if you will, there. You have a main entrance door there, but this is just for storage. There's no office or anything like that in there.
No, I wanted it to look nice rather than just being a square building.
Again, I didn't have interior architectural plans. I wanted to make sure we understood what we were talking about. So there's no office there per se. as we heard testimony, technically, there's about 20 parking spaces that are required by our ordinance. They are providing for 42 on-site parking spaces. So the pole barn that we're talking about that's going to be constructed has a facade sign on it of 40 square feet. And the purpose of that, I guess, is so people from Grand Avenue can look in and see a little sign on the front of your pole barn.
Just for.
It lends itself to a feel of an office or a retail space, which.
I'm trying to, I would like to delineate the difference between the two businesses, basically. That's all.
You got people all over the site, they know what the
Yeah, and they just, so that people know what it is.
Okay. So.
That's not really, doesn't have to be there. So if at the end of the day, we're proposing it, but.
And that's fine. So our ordinance allows for one facade sign on the site up to 40 square feet, and they are taking advantage of it at that location.
Fine, that's fine.
However, you've got two other retail spaces out on Delsea Drive with no facade signs.
Well, they don't get it.
And that's right. So they're not asking for any extra relief. So if they need facade signs on the retail stores at some point in time, that's a separate application.
No problem.
We're allowed to have one freestanding sign for the site. There are several, and we heard about all the variances that are necessary. Each one of those freestanding signs need relief for height, for area, and for setback.
But they're all
existing. They're all existing. My only comment is the Grant Avenue sign encroaches into the municipal right-of-way. It's 2.4 feet on township property.
Is that that's the wood one?
Yeah, the wood one.
So the board may want to consider having the applicant move a sign out onto his own property instead of being in township right-of-way. I just wanted to bring that up. We heard testimony that the trailer bodies or the storage trailers, they're all going to be removed, and all other equipment is going to be stored in the existing buildings on site, and the new building on site. We've got lots of driveways, 3 on Grant, 2 on Delsea. The applicant is asking for approval to have all these driveways remain. Now they're clearing it up some down at the corner on Grant, closest to Delsea. It's a big wide open space down there. They're proposing to install topsoil and seed, and then make sure that there's just a 24-foot wide driveway there in order to clean up how this site operates. Again, one of the other, the next one up on Grant Avenue, they're going to clean that up also, so the on-site circulation is a little better. The Delsea Drive, there's 2 Delsea Drive driveways. The one that's furthest to the south that we started to talk about, that does not have a full asphalt apron there. It's primarily on the neighbor's property. So this one, as you know, it catches the corner of it. But if this driveway is going to be approved by this board, it would be my suggestion that get a full asphalt apron the entire width of that driveway to prevent tracking of materials. The driveway that's on Delsea Drive in the center of the site, they are proposing, I don't know what they're proposing. Can we get some testimony on that? Is that just striping that's proposed there?
Striping along the existing area now, just line it up with the parking area.
Correct. So now when you come in, if they follow the proposed striping, they'll be behind the parking. And that's to also eliminate an over-wide driveway in that area.
Correct. You're bringing it down to 30.
There was parking bumpers on both sides, and we've already eliminated the majority of them on the left side, which is where the grass is. And
right, you're gonna make that all grass up against the house.
Correct.
And you're gonna concentrate all of your parking with commercial use associated next to the commercial use. We heard testimony that the two separate handicap spaces and the associated islands will be paved or will be concrete as required by ADA. We want to see a detail of that proposed cross-section of however that's being paved shown on the plans. Paragraph 18. The application doesn't propose any real site landscaping per se, and I guess that's because it's primarily a built-out site. That segues into buffer strips. Our ordinance requires buffer strips a minimum of 50 feet up to 150 feet between residential and highway commercial. So they're proposing on your plans at the very rear of the property, adjacent to the house that's at 3086 Grant Avenue, a single row of arborvitae to provide a type of a buffer. I don't know, the plans do not indicate what size they are, how tall they are when they're put in, what the spacing is, things along those lines. So we should hear some testimony in support of this and also some justification to allow this single partial row of arborvitaes where 50 to 150 feet of buffering is required.
They will be approximately 6 to 7 feet tall, 6 feet apart. They will grow together, so they will create an actual buffer. I can get them bigger if we want them to be bigger, but primarily we use 6 to 7 foot and we plant them 6 feet apart, trunk to trunk.
Why are we not continuing that all the way down the property line?
There's a wooded buffer that's already there. It becomes woods.
Is the wood's yours or no? It's not.
No, it's the neighbors. I mean,
So that's right.
it starts to fade. I mean, we can put them. It's not. That's easy.
I also would like to point out, maybe I'm interpreting this the wrong way, but you do have like 200 feet or something of the residential agricultural that's just empty here. So if you're talking about buffering, this is where the use is, and this is where the next residential use is, but this is all empty space. So that in and of itself is a distance buffer from the next house, as opposed to it being like development's not right up against it.
And I would buy into that argument if you weren't directing traffic directly along the property line.
Mm-hmm.
If that whole area was unused, I certainly would understand that. However, that seems to be an integral part of this operation that we're going to be bringing. Where do all of your trucks and trailers leave from when they go in the morning? How do they leave the site?
Primarily out that back.
That back way, on a gravel dirt road.
I'm okay
adjacent to a
putting
house.
trees. I mean, that's what we do for a living. So I mean, it's easy.
I understand. It's just, the board has to weigh that because, like you said, the ordinance requires 50-foot wide to 150-foot wide buffer, and you're asking for relief from that.
The roadways that we're using were pretty much existing, so we're kind of trying to work with the contour of what we've already given. So without having to change everything up, we've eliminated the majority of issues on the property, and we're trying to kind of utilize the property the best of the ability that we were given when we purchased it. So
there's 16 arborvitaes currently proposed for that area. And the last concern I had, or the last item I had on my review letter, has to do with our HC design standards. The municipality went through a lot of work to create design standards so that you get to have good-looking buildings in the highway commercial zone. They are asking for relief from those design standards for building exceeds 100 feet of uninterrupted length. It doesn't provide for parapet walls. It has prefabricated metal panels, things along those lines. So they're asking for variance relief tonight from the design standards. And I don't know that I heard that testimony why that should be granted, but it tends to be set back and hidden from Delsea Drive. And the only portion that's really very, very obvious from a municipal street kind of has a nicer front on it. I don't want to testify, but that's kind of what's on the plans.
I think I know, we can see what direction they're going with that. I mean, the pole barn's in the back. And the nice side is facing Grand Avenue.
Yep. So those are the concerns that I brought up in my letter for our discussion this evening.
Just one question. Did you say there was no plumbing in the new building?
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion, we open to the public. Motion by David Cesare. Second. By Mike Garofalo, all in favor, aye. Opposed? Anybody from the public like to be heard regarding this application, please come forward to the square unit. Raise your right hand, please. If you swear to tell the truth, testimony
Me?
Name and address for the record.
I'm Janine Wenger, 3068 Delsea Drive, Franklinville.
John Wenger, 39 Station Ave, Franklinville.
Okay, so my concerns. The history of this farm is it's been in our family. It's been our family homestead. My grandfather was born in that house. I'm not against him building any new construction because he has cleaned up the property tremendously. You were left with a mess. So I credit you for what you've done to the property. Some of my issues are my property is a farm, and in the future, I hope that my two kids could possibly build homes on my farm. My kids are fifth generation to live in this farm. I had issues. My mother, before she passed away, had issues with the Dohertys. You give them an inch and they took a mile. The driveway just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I bought the house when my mom died. I had issues. My ex-husband and I put up a gate to stop all of this from happening. The gate's still there. We had it surveyed. Ewing and Associates did it. I've had it surveyed twice. I had pins put in. Every single time my pins get removed. Dohertys were the first ones that did it. Here we are again. Before he purchased it, same thing happens. My pins are gone. I will guarantee you, and I'd like for a survey to be done and new pins to be set every 100 foot to guarantee that that access is not, and I'm going to tell you right now it is.
What, if you look at the entrance on Delsea Drive?
Yes.
It's showing what, 12
foot 9.
So how are you going to get a driveway at 12 foot 9 from the building, right? So from the building to the property line on that plan shows 12 foot 9.
I see that, yeah.
So you got all that roof drainage coming off all those
I mowed that grass for years.
And
it's
you
a
guys are
solid mud
saying
puddle
You're going to tell them to pave it. Well, where's the water going to go?
in my field.
Then that's a farm field, right? So what's going to happen to the soil?
Tell them to pave it.
But even with the pavement, where's
That's
the
just
drainage
gonna
going to
run-
go?
I mean,
It's gonna run off.
Something's got to happen with the water.
My question is, was there a permit for the fence when it was originally installed? Was it pulled?
What fence? The split rail fence?
The split rail fence, was there a permit pulled for that? Are the line sets right? Was there a survey performed before the fence was installed? Just to see. So I'm just requesting that his surveyor repin it and my survey verify. And I'm going to tell you that I honestly think that whole driveway plan will be gone.
Do you think this survey is wrong?
I absolutely do. There's supposed to be a 50 to 100 foot buffer, and he's asking for
Yeah,
zero.
how do you
So
do
how
that?
would you feel? How would you guys feel
foot to that?
if someone said to you, zero buffer for you, Mr. Gravener?
Right.
We're going to put a commercial business, and every truck's going to
No,
go
better yet,
right
your
yet in your
kids are
yard.
going to live there. That's going to be your kid's backyard.
Maybe we should ask for him to put a buffer.
Well, how about
How?
we get rid of
12.9.
12 foot 9? So okay, 6 foot privacy fence, solid with trees. How are you going to do that?
With a Prius.
Right now,
You could
we're
drive a Prius in
getting
there.
a chain link fence. Like, I can see through everything. So, the fence is on his side. I still get to see, and they get to see everything.
Yeah,
It filters.
like a junkyard. Just saying, no offense.
You cleaned
But
it up.
it's
I'm
our
not
land.
saying that. So,
My nieces and nephews are going to inherit that ground, and we're pushing it. And it's, sorry.
my request is the driveway be put on, the driveway on the south and east sides not be used at all.
Eliminate that driveway.
Yep, requested
It shouldn't
6
have been
foot.
there in the first place. It was never,
It's not a driveway.
Doherty stole that back years ago. My mom fought with Doherty all the time. He was nice enough.
She said,
Trash
oh, he
blow
gave
in
me
the
a
field.
10% discount on my plants, you know,
But
this, and
now
she
it's
just let
getting
it
too
go.
far.
So, request a privacy fence, solid 6 foot, evergreen trees along mine and the neighbor's property, and it shouldn't just be 16 trees. They should be of substantial size.
Leland cypress.
Yeah, they're going to grow wide and a significant amount every single year.
Green
How
giants.
about a retention basin? Drainage plan to ensure no flooding coming onto my property. We're only talking about 3.5 acres. This is a lot of business going on in 3.5 acres.
The only thing changing is the pole barn, so everything else is.
No, the road. That road looks like this right here. He kept pointing at this. This, look at the arrows. Everything's here. It used to be here. So like, is there even like NJDOT access to that? Like what's the required width of that? Because it was a little farm road. You know what I'm saying?
So like,
It's a
even if
little
you get
farm
these
road.
big Dodge pickup trucks with them wide mirrors, them tow
just
mirrors,
doesn't seem-
12 foot is 6 isn't enough, right?
For Doherty's whole existence, every entrance was the center. I worked there as a kid. Everybody went through the center. What are we doing here with this bottom? That was never, my deceased mother always told me that was her ground. And he was pushing, and it makes sense. It's 12'9" off the back of that right here. This, 12'9". 12'9". How do you?
You're saying that's wrong.
No,
Yes.
I'm saying that's right. How do you put a fence? How do you put Leland cypress? They grow 8 foot wide. You're done. You can't use that as a road.
He's not proposing to put cypress there.
We're just. I mean, so then what do we do? Let them have it? They just take it, and then it's your nephew's and your niece's property that they got to live up against.
I understand what you're saying.
So
We
then,
didn't approve or disapprove anything.
We're just making our case. That's all.
so
Yeah.
finally, I'm requesting that it to be on record that this is not an industrial park with commercial space for lease sign, which there was one on there previously from a realtor that had advertised it. It's currently 2 residential homes, 3 businesses. It's not zoned for an industrial park. And I don't want any more uses on a small 3-acre property in a residential area. I'd like it to be on record that if it's approved, there will be no additional uses or businesses renting spaces.
But you're not opposed to that pole barn.
No, just do it right, get a proper site plan.
I just don't know how, it looks like you're gonna access it from her side, right? How are you accessing that?
The pole barn?
Yeah.
The garage door.
This little thing right here, this how you guys are coming in, or are you coming in right here?
No, the garage doors are on right here on this side. And there's one on one side.
I mean, she just don't like this.
I understand.
I mean, yeah,
I didn't-
I respect what you're doing.
I
You're
didn't
doing a
put-
great job.
Yeah,
Like, we just don't like
I just
that.
took, well,
So, I do, Jane, have to, get you to, put on the record. If you were to, I realize this plan doesn't show your house, and I know you've got 20 or whatever acres you've got, but if anybody is familiar with, your driveway is down here somewhere through a little tree, and your house is back here in the woods. Is that accurate to say that's roughly where your house is over here? So when you're discussing having them plant trees all along here, that is not anywhere near screening
Yeah,
your
but
house.
you're missing the
Or
point.
What they said.
The kids are gonna end up moving in there.
Excuse me. They said that's for their children.
Yeah, like what's that got to do with
You were my
anything?
mother's lawyer to get this land
know
for
all
what
about
you know
this.
about this.
Yeah, I
You
know
just
that
take his
the
money.
house is back here. I'm just saying that, come on, Johnny, let's.
Well, I
that's not
mean-
You gotta talk
necessary.
one at a time because they're recording, so one at a time.
Sorry, Desiree.
Anyway, I'm just trying to point out that she's asking for
A privacy fence and some,
and landscaping along here in a way that would eliminate this driveway, and you're
I mean-
also asking on behalf of the neighbor.
yeah, because they have to deal with it too. You're looking at a chain link fence right here. Here's the driveway. So I get to look at it, and so do they. So,
Yeah.
like, put pretty in here and make it look nice and put a shiny sign on it. But everything outside the fence, I get to say. Nobody else does, except for the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we understand the direction you want to go.
Right.
I got a problem with, you've had a survey done, right?
Yeah.
And you had the pin.
Doherty's pulled my pins out originally in
Everybody pulling their
2012. Every time I get it done.
Okay.
They all want
I'm
that
concerned
spot.
Someone would think of doing that after you've had a survey.
Well, I'm also wondering, I mean no disrespect, but I know how farming operations are, and I'm wondering if that's what's
Well, and
taking
see,
out
that
pins.
was no, it's not, because there was a driveway there, a farm access driveway that I have.
Yeah, it's still here, right? I can see that on the
Yes.
aerial photograph.
So that's
Your
been
driveway's-
there, but Doherty's, after a while, they originally put fish pond area. That was their fish pond selling area. They had basins with fish in it. Then a tractor trailer started, and it just kept creeping. So now, for years, the farmers had to reintroduce soil to be able to now farm everything. And yeah, I don't want a driveway there. I don't want a driveway there.
That's existing driveway, right? It's been there.
It's not even a driveway, it's just grass. It's just green grass.
There's stone there. It's there.
That was never, there was no stone there. He put that stone there. This, next to his building,
There
there
was-
was grass up to it, because I mowed it for Doherty's. Well, I mowed it because Doherty's wouldn't mow it. So in order to make my property look nice, I mowed up against every single bit, all the way back to be back here.
Okay.
Stone there.
We got one. Does anyone else like to be heard regarding this, please come forward. Raise your right hand, please. You spell tell the truth, got the testimony you give.
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Andrew Cernicos, 558 Grand Avenue. I'm the property next door.
Behind dog or
Are
what?
you,
This is me.
Okay.
I have first a question. Is this zoning going to stay the same as it is today? Or is this changing?
Yeah. right, we're not asking them to change the.
Okay, so that's not changing. Okay. Second thing. These trees, right against the property line. I don't want them, and there's two reasons. Reason number one, there's a height difference between the properties. My property is higher, their property is lower. People coming out of the driveway of that property can't see to the right to make a left. Matter of fact, no more than 3 or 4 weeks before they got into the property, somebody knocking on my door saying there was a bunch of little bushes right at the phone pole, which is right there. Could we just cut everything down so that we could actually see to the right to make a left? Because in that driveway, if you have to put your nose out the driveway to actually be able to make the turn, but you've got to see this way to go that way. People come whipping around here. These first 2 telephone poles have been taken out 15 times in the time I've lived here. So it's very dangerous. Also, those trees did exist at one point. I had talked with Jimmy and I said, Doherty, can we put trees up here? Because I thought it would abate some noise from Delsea Drive. I was wrong. A row of trees doesn't do anything. Anything at all. What they did do, unfortunately, is they got to be about 12, 14 feet, and they flooded my basement. It changed the water table somehow. Now, I'm not smart enough to know why it did it. I just went to people that are professionals and say, you should probably get rid of those trees. So I had, after putting in all those trees, I took out all those trees. And my basement dried up. So my basement's fine now. I don't want to go back to a flood again.
You don't want any buffer?
No, no.
Okay.
This literally caused a flood in my basement the last time it was there. So I'd rather not have them there. They've done amazing work on that property. The property was in rough shape. It took them over 2 years. They went out there and these were hoop houses all in here and here and here. There was got to be 6 of them at least. They were out there malleting these things to get them out of the ground. And they turned it back to grassland. It looks gorgeous now. But it took them well over 2 years to do it. The property's pretty. Do I have a problem with the hoop house? Not really, except for the new, we might want to put a machine shop in there. And I'm worrying about noise from the machine shop. Is this a noisy operation?
What, do you hear noise now?
Yeah, a little bit, nothing, who cares?
Anything, it'll actually be less because it'll be more, you'll hear it less. Yes.
Okay, so there's no loudspeakers on the building, or? I don't have a problem with the hoop house at all.
Thank you.
It's just the trees.
Anyone else like to be heard? Not, anything about the close part of the board?
I make a motion.
I second. Second by Dane, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Councilor, you have anything to add?
I mean, we've said a lot of stuff. I don't think I need to summarize what's been said. You know, the planner made some justifications for why variances can be granted and why this development is appropriate in the area, and everything else we've gone through in detail. I won't add to that.
If there was a dispute on the property line.
Oh, well, okay. So this was recently surveyed, which in order to make this site plan up, and so you know, it appears to show that there are two driveways. I don't know that there's any dispute as to the actual location of the property line. If there would have been a conflict, then the surveyor, and full disclosure, that's my husband's business that did the surveying work, that would have had to have been shown as either a gap or a gore, like an overlap or something like that. That by law, he would have been required to show that on the survey. And the survey and the site plan don't show that there's any conflict regarding where that property line is. So I don't know how to address it other than that.
Just from my observation, it looks like if you were traveling northbound on Delsea Drive, it doesn't even look like you would pull into that driveway without trespassing the neighbor's property.
Right.
I mean, maybe if you went all the way to the left shoulder and came in, but especially if you had a trailer on there, I don't see how you could possibly make that turn.
So, Jason,
There's no way.
so there's a gate there. I believe Miss Wangert's has a gate across her entrance, and how do your people drive in? They can't possibly, is it true there's a gate across her entrance, so it's impossible for you to trespass on her property when you enter?
Correct.
Well, that wasn't apparently a driveway prior to amount of time before. So there is a very simple solution. Get rid of it. Not have that driveway. You got enough other driveways to come in and go.
There's plenty of driveways.
And I'm only looking at the supply documents. It's sheet 2 of 8 from the plans that was submitted. It's a satellite with the overlay, and maybe I'm not talking from any expert opinion here, but it looks like the apron that's existing to the off property would have to be crossed over from a northbound direction. If you're coming southbound, you can certainly make that turn.
I mean, in this site plan, there's actually a truck and a trailer parked. So it must have got.
Did you say sheet 2?
Yeah, it's sheet 2. It's your area. There's a satellite overlay on that.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
This is right away out here.
Right.
So if they go on the apron, that's still public property. Gate. If it's here, then you can't trespass. And there's a fence. Isn't there a fence with the court? So you'd have to fence there.
Okay, so the applicant has testified that there is a gate, and the gate is presumably supported by a pole or something that holds the gate in place on that corner. And that sheet 2 does show that there are trucks parked in that driveway. So they have gotten in there somehow, and the engineer is suggesting that even though the pavement, even though the highway is paved out to here, the highway line is actually, so this is shoulder. So they are driving over shoulder to get into their driveway. It may not be a concrete apron, but it's a paved shoulder.
Would fire truck be able to get to that pole barn very easily? For safety purposes?
Yes. From Grand Avenue.
Has the application
Both
been
sides.
sent to for comment? Because I didn't get anything back from.
The fire chief just.
I would tell you we would.
Oh yeah, there you go.
All right, gentlemen, you heard the testimony now. Any more comments for the applicant and professional? Mike, any more comments from you? Or Dave? I think we said quite a bit this evening. Quite a bit of comments, technical comments.
I'll just state for the record, prior to moving on, I have major concerns about the drainage of the site. And I know there's a lot of pre-existing stuff. It's not that we're proposing to dig any more major holes or anything like that, but I see grates on this plan. I have no idea where they go, where they drain to. They're acting under roadway. I know that the septic's not under review at this point, but looks like there's roads to go over where he said the septic field is. So if you have heavy vehicles driving over the septic.
Yeah, there's no roads that go over the septic.
Okay.
Are there any drainage?
Those drains are just seepage pits.
Okay, because I want to address that head on, because essentially you gentlemen know that because this is a use variance, that we have to have 5 of the 6 votes here. So I don't want to leave that unaddressed. So, Mr. Jones, can you tell the board, do you have any problems when it rains, any rainstorm events where you have seen ponding of water on this property?
Not currently, no.
And Mr. Gilmore, you had indicated something about how the area of disturbance, because don't forget, most of this is already an existing impervious surface. So what's being added is a slender piece around here and then a piece here. And the testimony was also that they're reducing some of the impervious coverage on other parts of the property, so that we actually have we were having a net reduction in impervious cover. So there was another piece of testimony that said that, okay, we're going to pave some handicap spots. And basically speaking, the amount of impervious coverage is going to not change from pre to post.
It's pretty de minimis. I mean, what the state regulations are very strict. They basically say you can add a 1/4 acre of new impervious, a little over 10,000 square feet, disturb up to 1 acre, and it's going to result, it'll be so de minimis, we don't even want to look at it. It's nothing. So as that is our threshold, we are removing and adding lawn areas. I think we have less than disturbance of 1 acre, and we're only 1,600 square foot of new impervious cover. So far below what the state considers de minimis. So I would report that is de minimis. If anything, you're not going to see any. It's negligent. You're not going to see any additional noticeable runoff from the site. I think Mr. Scheide could probably speak to that.
And I agree that the state regulations don't require new stormwater management for the proposed additional impervious. The question is there an existing drainage issue that maybe needs to be resolved?
It doesn't appear to be one. I don't think the applicant has indicated there are none on site.
I'm trying to look at the grade. What's the contours? Where does the water run generally?
All over the place.
You can't tell it.
Well, there's a topographic plan here. I'm
Yeah.
trying to take a look at it.
Yeah, it's reading plan.
So the high point's up at Delsea Drive and Grand Avenue?
That's southeast
27, 26. Yeah, it's generally draining, Delsea Drive draining north to south. Generally level, 125, 124, 122. I mean, it's all draining to the green area portion of the back of the site this way. It's still draining from Delsea Drive, 123, 124, 123.
Can't change the grade.
To the new building.
Excuse me?
It would be impossible to change the grade.
And the runoff from the new building, you could direct downspouts, I guess.
Yeah, it's all kind of generally draining back this way, and then Delsea Drive is draining this way.
You know which way it's draining. Any other comments?
Back towards where you were standing.
It doesn't matter where it's draining, unless we're putting a retention pond in, it's gonna go where it's gonna go.
I'm just saying it's not going to get exacerbated by this application because there's all that pre-existing concrete and we're moving other stuff, so it's almost like net zero.
Drainage,
No, it's not good.
Downspouts would be directed away from the neighbor's property.
We can certainly do that, yeah.
What'd you ask, Steve? I'm sorry.
Downspouts for the new building.
Yes.
Directed away from the neighbor's property.
Good idea. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion approving this. I got a couple of issues. One of them is that driveway. And in my motion, that the driveway should be eliminated, things away from the neighbor. The other thing, get rid of the bushes in the back of that property the gentleman mentioned. Unneeded, get them out.
And I think that there should be some buffer along there. Eliminate the driveway and have a buffer down there.
Yes.
That's split rail fences.
Swap the ones in the back, and some along the line. Now, we're gonna buffer the front.
Solid vinyl fence.
Solid vinyl fencing in
But
that
not a
property.
natural buffer.
And Mike, you got some?
The other,
How about it?
Well, you heard all the variances, I'm assuming you're okay with the variances that were requested as part of your motion?
Yes.
We've noted a few other conditions along the way.
And I did it naturally, so it's like a farm.
Right. How about a natural buffer rather than a vinyl fence? Because they tend to look, a little harsh as compared to
It's like
landscape.
Then that affects the crops. I mean, I'm a landscape designer as far as aesthetically pleasing. I mean, most people want to try and avoid a vinyl fence.
What do you guys prefer?
Well, you don't want shade.
Let's hear you now, forever hold your peace.
Solid vinyl fence.
Well,
It's gonna give me the
Better
most
one to have
privacy,
to
the
live with.
quickest, it's quick.
I would go along with it. That,
So, this is, what's troubling me about this is, as Ms. Langford has testified, her house is back here in the woods.
Your kids are over there.
Okay, excuse me, it's my turn.
Well, you didn't listen first.
no, please.
Okay. We do have residential agricultural up to here. And this is highway commercial. The kids are not building houses up here, trust me, in the highway commercial zone. But they'd have to come in and get variances to get that approved. And when they have 20, 30, I don't know how many acres Ms. Wenger has, it's a very substantial farm. Would they choose to jam their houses up against here? I just don't see it. I think that.
It's not anybody's choice but theirs.
I think that it's a facetious argument that's being made for the sole purpose of she had an argument with the Dohertys about the location of that road, and now she's using this application as a way to get rid of that driveway that her mother was not happy with many years ago. That's what I see, and I.
Motion, I'm making that in my motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other additions to the motion, Anthony?
Not just first on the whole one.
For the height?
Does that matter if I work
The plans indicate that the height of the pole barn is 25 feet, 25.5 feet. That I'd have 35 in the highway commercial.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to eliminate the driveway, the small driveway coming in, the southern driveway on the Delsea Drive, and putting a 6-foot high vinyl fence, white vinyl fence. And get rid of the arborvitae on Grand Axle, limiting that buffer.
I'm for that motion also, to move that one line back over the two. That's the only thing that's different.
And you are going to give us a place for the dumpster, correct?
Yes.
Motion in second motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Dana, right? Yeah. It says it. If there's any other comments on the motion here, people.
I'm sorry, can I just get a clarification? So you're talking about eliminating the driveway along that entire property line?
Yes.
And you're talking about a 6-foot high vinyl fence along the entire property line?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Garofalo?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Mr. Jones, you've done a very good job cleaning that up, and you've gotten comments from people out in the public.
Thank you.
I think we all appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
And you've got a lot of things going on there. I hope it stays the way you want it to. That's the way I'm going to say.
Mr. DeCesare?
Yes, I also agree with Rich. You've done a fantastic job cleaning that place up.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Gaetano?
Yes.
And Mr. Hamel?
Yes.
Chairman Brady?
Yep, I agree with you guys.
Thank you.
That was a challenge out there, but you have to make some compromises, so I'll be yes. Okay.
Thank you.
That's it for our agenda this evening.
You have resolution? Yeah.
And secretary's report, but it's never a secretary's report.
I don't have any.
Okay. Resolutions.
I make a motion to approve EC 2307. I'll make a motion to approve both of them.
ZB 2307 and ZB 2304.
And Anthony, second.
Yes.
Anybody second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions to the resolution? And no secretary's report?
Nope.
Any comments, Mike? Any comments, Dave?
So sorry, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Around dinner time. What's it?
Wait, who seconded it?
Trust me, I keep telling you. My grandmother's favorite.
You had another guy there, so he's still there. He got a lot to watch stereos. And he's very pleasant, very nice guy. I mean, I went down there one day, he had a meeting at my house. It was unbelievable. But I went and saw him, and I was like, pointed some redirection.
Trust me, there's times where
These will all funnel.
because I don't.
This is going to be.